Welcome on in to Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Padone, filling in for Daniel Booby Gibson today.
Shoot it, Nick!
I'm lucky to be joined by longtime Cavs reporter Sam Amico, as well as Cavs bilingual play-by-play announcer Rafa Hernandez Brito. Hello, Calde. What's going on, guys? I mean, this show has been off to a hot start, but not harder than our Cleveland Cavaliers, who are still undefeated at the time that we're recording this.
We're undefeated too. Second week on FanDuel Sports Network, and we're gonna do like a full court press today because I think when you're the only undefeated team in the NBA at the moment, we're talking about this show. I think you have to celebrate it. You have to celebrate the fact that it is something that not many people expected after the 0-4 preseason, and this is just another proof of don't put too much weight on what the preseason brings because everybody's trying things and working on things, but the 9-0 start, even for those people that were trying to take away credit from it, because whether the schedule was easy at the beginning and all that, if you really look down, Sam, at the 9 game, they have had different type of wins that were hard to get in the last few years. When we talk about learning how to finish, learning how to keep leads, learning how to come back, and I think they have done all that.
Absolutely. They've won in many different styles, guys, and it's been whether, there's been a few games where obviously they've had more than 130 points, which I think they've already surpassed or matched.
They matched last season.
Season, what is it, 3 games?
Four with the 130 piece that they put in NOLA.
So I was sitting there watching that New Orleans game, and when it started to slip away a little bit, the Cavs had a big lead. I started to think, this is the kind of game that they would lose last year, and they would let get away. Instead, they kind of put the pedal to the metal, and defensively, really just, New Orleans was good against the Cavs, but they really just kind of, they got the needed stops and stopped the momentum, stopped the Pelicans from getting the momentum. And, this year it's been that way through the first 9 games against everybody, whether it's been the 2 really close wins against Milwaukee, whether they were down 13 against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. It's really been, guys, this is a long way to go, but it's been a lot of fun just watching this team overcome obstacles.
I mean, it's truly a historic start for this Cleveland Cavaliers organization now as they sit at 9-0, and that's the best start in franchise history. Even the 2016 Cavs, even the 1976 Cavs were not as hot to start out the season as this current bunch. Sam, when you look at breaking down these games and somebody that's there night in, night out, what's the difference? What looks different? Because just from a fan perspective, I think there's a lot of people that watch these games and that see the new look offense and is like, why couldn't we have done this last year? Because for the most part, all the same guys.
Right, exactly. Well, and here's another stat I'll throw out at you. After 7 games, they were the first team since the 1978 Seattle Supersonics who had gone 7-0 without playing anybody 30 minutes a game. So I think the biggest difference, though, to answer your question is, they're taking care of the basketball, which last year was kind of iffy, kind of rocky on offense. I'm not going to call anybody out, but, Darius Garland has improved greatly in that area. Karis LeVert has improved greatly in that area. And not only are they taking care of the ball, guys, but they've really been facilitating and setting up the other guys. And I like watching Point Mobley. He threw a perfect pass on the fast break last night.
And you were asking what had changed. There's a huge part of your answer. We have seen Evan Mobley not only make the block, get the rebound, coast-to-coast drive, jam everyone hand on the other end, but we also see a very intentional movement from Darius and even Donovan to give the ball to Evil Mobley and have him bring it up. And most of the time, as you noticed the other day against New Orleans, like he saw like a little soft defense on him while he's bringing up the ball, and he ends up under the basket. So that is one of the things. Is one of the biggest changes. And you're right, Nick. It's the same personnel, but it's not the same system. And I think the 10+ guy rotation And one guy that Cavs fans didn't get a chance to see much at all last year due to the injuries is Ty Jerome, who was active 2 games, I think, for us last season. And this season, Kenny Atkinson, who also we have to bring into the historic time because he also left a couple of coaches behind that started at 8-0, just like he did before the night against New Orleans, and now he's sitting atop alone with 9-0 and 5 road wins. By the way, I'm sorry I keep throwing all the
there's a lot of stats,
all the shameless plugs here for ourselves, but hey, you gotta do it. But also, the bench, the way that he's been using the bench, the return of Caris LeVert was visible, clear against New Orleans, and let's just hope that we continue to get help on those things that we cannot control, which is more than anything else, health.
Well said, Raf. On today's show, we're going to break down some of the biggest Cavs headlines about this hot start team. We're going to look ahead to some upcoming matchups that you'll be watching this week. We're going to take a look at some of the other top storylines around the NBA. Straight ahead, has this hot start changed expectations for our Cleveland Cavaliers? That and more. Don't go anywhere. More of Full Court Cleveland right after this. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Padone filling in for Daniel Booby Gibson today. Lucky to be joined with Sam Amico, Rafa Hernandez, Brito as well. Guys, I think there's a lot of chatter now that the Cavs had this tremendously hot start. You see the memes every single game that this is a team that could go 82-0 NBA championship.
Well, we're on pace.
Here we come. I mean, they're pacing that way. But guys, the question that needs to be asked today on the show, has this hot start changed your expectations for this Cleveland Cavaliers season as a whole? And I'll go ahead and answer that question first. I'm going to say no, because the regular season for the Cavs has never been their issue. I'm very excited to see the growth in a lot of areas that you hit on, Raf, and you mentioned, Sam. Darius Garland looks like a much better and much improved player. Evan Mobley is making that long-anticipated leap that we've all been waiting for. But the Cavs in the regular season have always been pretty good ever since Donovan Mitchell came to town. It's now making this magic happen in April, in May, come postseason time. That's where the Cavs have hit their biggest roadblocks. But now I ask you, has this hot start changed your expectations for the Cavs this year?
I'm with you. It hasn't changed them in a way that I was expecting the world from this unit, especially because of the process that we have been going through. Remember, this is a team or a franchise that started with 19 wins, and then it went and doubled it, and then 22, 44, and then we went over the 50. But, again, there's 2 seasons when you want to become a champion in the NBA. It's the regular season where everybody get their things together, and then there is the playoff where winner goes on and loser goes home. So one of the things that I think is great to see is the way the team is gelling and the way the team is buying into what Kenny Atkinson is bringing into the table, because there's a saying that my grandmother used to say, that your ego is not your amigo, and when you have egos in the room and you're able to manage them, especially talking about Sam, for example, playing time.
Yeah.
Playing time is an important item for players. A lot of them think of the philosophy that you need to have a long run to be able to get into the rhythm. Well, so far, I think the Cavs and Kenny Atkinson have managed this, and that is something I believe that could pay off when it comes time to really get better, which is in the playoff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that all of these signs are positive in the sense that there's such good chemistry right now in the locker room and on the court. Sometimes there's little hiccups in that area.
There will always be.
Right. Yeah. And you don't see that with these guys so far. And Nick, you hit the nail on the head. You said exactly what Kenny Atkinson said in the preseason. And he said, this team hasn't been very good in the last 2 years after the All-Star break. And that needs to change. We need to be playing our best basketball then. So what are we doing until then? We're forming habits and rhythm and system and getting guys used to their role prior to that all-important time so that you're playing your best basketball of the year. Even though the Cavs are playing great right now, they want to be playing even better April, May, and June if you get there. So to answer your question, no, I don't. They haven't surpassed what I expected them to do, or it's not impacting where I thought they would finish, because I thought they could finish anywhere from 2nd to 6th in the East with as tight as the race was. Now I'm ruling out 5th and 6th.
Yes, you're ruling out.
And I think it's more like 2nd or 3rd at worst.
You know, and also before we go on the next one, I think I'm talking about expectations and everything. I don't think they can be any higher than what we already had coming into the. We all play to win, right? Every team plays to be playing in June, to play the last game of the season. And if you look at the past and you think of, okay, the 7-game series against Orlando, with missing Jared Allen for a good chunk of that, and then the injuries we had against the Celtics, and we played the Celtics very well, the champions eventually. And I know that right now it's easy to say, well, what if, well, again, if my grandmother had a mustache, she'll be my grandfather. But at the end of the day, those ifs are valid, right? And if you stay healthy and you develop those habits that Sam is talking about, there is a good chance that things are going to turn out well at the end of the season.
And another thing that Sam had mentioned there is just the chemistry that this team has. And I think a lot of that innately comes natural when you don't do a whole lot during the offseason. And your one real addition was bringing back Ty Jerome, who was just finally able to get healthy for this Cavs bunch. But my next point I want to make is about Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell playing together. If you guys remember when the Cavs were eliminated from the NBA playoffs, there were rumors and reports and drama circling around the team of Darius Garland maybe not wanting to stay in Cleveland if Donovan Mitchell signed that extension. And obviously both members of that report have denied that vehemently throughout the beginning of this year. But when they've been on the court together, they've been one of the best duos in the NBA. Forget about the best backcourt, but one of the true best number 1, number 2 punches. Where does this guard duo rank in your guys' mind among the best in the NBA? Because for me, they've got to be up there in the top echelon for sure.
Top 5, I would say, without really thinking about everybody else. But just the way, again, it's how do you mesh with the other guy as opposed to two great individuals. Before the season, Kenny Atkinson said, we have 2 all-stars in the backcourt. If we don't have 2 guys who are making a case for the all-star game, then I'm not doing my job. Mm-hmm. And right now you have 2 guys that are doing that. You look at Darius Garland, I've been impressed with everybody. I mean, from Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, George Niang has impressed me greatly this year. Everybody. But if I had to pick one guy that I'm most impressed with the way he's played, it's Darius Garland, because he's valuing possessions, he's taking care of the ball, he's forcing nothing. And on top of that, there are games where he's just fine, as Raf was saying, games where he's just fine taking less shots and playing less minutes and, finishing the game with 12 points and 10 assists than other games where you need him to. He's getting over 30.
And Ralph, that's what a true modern NBA point guard looks like. A guy that could distribute the ball some nights, but then at times, and we've seen it this past week, a guy that could go out there and get 39 points if he needs to help these Cavs remain undefeated.
And I hate to break it to the fans, but we are going to lose games this season. The Michael Jordan Bulls lost 10. Can you believe that? Right? So, and I think that will be also a point in the season where the team is going to discover and find out if they're really that team to make it a championship round. Because when things get hard, it's where finger pointing starts. And last couple of years, we have found that we have a group of guys that when things got hard, they just got together and figure out what is it that needed to be done to work. When it comes to Darius Garland, I think the duo that we have is the best for the group that we have. Because Darius Garland is the longest tenure Cavalier next to Dean Wade, so that's how long and how much he means to the franchise, right? But again, reminding the fans and all the critics, this is the guy that got killed last season, while everybody ignored the injury that he had. I mean, this guy had his mouth shut for a very long time and was eating blended macaroni and cheese and burgers and everything you want. We tried those things that he was eating, and it took a hit on him. He was just coming off an All-Star season. Speaking about All-Stars, and I think you saw it, for example, like the second game, the one at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse against Milwaukee, when you could clearly see Donovan Mitchell just letting Darius Garland take the ball. He was the hot hand. He was going against Damian Lillard and went with him blow by blow. So I think we have two guys that want to win and two guys that, most importantly, are ready to be leaders on this team and are willing and able to do whatever it takes. And we have talked about a couple of items already, but whatever it takes to win and to take this team back to the championship level, I think Garland and Mitchell are the ones that are going to lead by example, and everybody else will follow.
Straight ahead, we get you guys our Cavs upcoming schedule. A little friendly rivalry returns with the Golden State Warriors. More of Full Court Cleveland right after this. Welcome on back into the Full Court Cleveland show right here on the Big Play Network, and we're brought to you by our friends over at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just two flavors, a classic light lager and lime. There's no frills, there's no bitterness. This isn't an IPA, it's just beer-flavored beer.
It's beer.
You can find your local retailers who sell Garage Beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Guys, the Cavs' upcoming schedule, things are going to get fun. We won't talk about it too much because this show will air with our friends on FanDuel Sports Network past Friday. But the Golden State Warriors will come to town, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And how about the start that the Warriors have had to this season, currently 7-1? How different is this Warriors team than the one Cavs fans are used to seeing? Because they're down one splash brother here, guys.
In personnel, I think they're different. I think you can tell a little bit with Steve Kerr and Jerry Stackhouse now in the staff playing a little more defense and having different. Buddy Hield is playing so well that they got Kuminga coming off the bench,
right.
And I think they have had games just kind of like the Cavs. They blew a big lead in Houston and even went down by a point in the fourth quarter. And then against the Celtics, they went down in the second half. Yes, no Brown and. Yeah, I guess, what's his name? Tatum was worried that Kerr was going to bench him for that game, but thank God he was on the other side, on the other bench. He couldn't bench Tatum. But I think the Warriors are the Warriors again, and it's amazing to see, and that is good news for us because Kenny Atkinson comes from spending 3 years on that philosophy, on that way of running games, but they seem to be able to find players to just put in there and just blend in like they've been there for a while playing in that system.
Yeah, and I think it's great, regardless of what happens in Friday's game or that game, I think the Cavs are kind of reminding me a little bit of those Warriors in their prime. And you could tell Kenny Atkinson, and I've heard Jared Allen say this, really, and Jared Allen said, I thought he's a pretty good coach in Brooklyn when Jared Allen played for him, but he said it's very clear that he's picked up some pieces from Ty Lue, Doc Rivers, Steve Kerr, and having been an assistant over the years. So, the Warriors, as far as they're just a little bit different animal now because they have slashers, not as much small ball, and more size off the bench, but it's still working.
Well, then we look ahead to Saturday. It's another Kenny Atkinson coach team and the Brooklyn Nets, who have not had the best start to the season. They're currently 4-4, and one of the teams, like many in this Eastern Conference, that find themselves kind of under the Mendoza line. What do we make out of the Brooklyn Nets? Because I think there's a lot of Cavs fans who will be tuned into this game for maybe one Cameron Johnson, who starts at small forward for the Nets.
And also, I got to throw in a family mention here because we're going to have the return to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse by Jody Fernandez. Yeah. This is a dude that was not born, obviously, he's from Spain, but he started his career here in Cleveland under Mike Brown, and now he's being the head guy over there in Brooklyn, which is a team that is probably the perfect situation for him because they're both team and coach are trying to find their ways to the league, and yes, there are a lot of players that are on display for the team to see what they can do. But it's to me, it'd be more important to see that, just to finally see Jody Fernandez as a head coach in the NBA.
He's been great with them so far. The fact that they're 4-4 when they really were expecting to stumble, like pretty harshly out of the gate. That team plays hard. It plays smart. They seem very connected. And you know, I asked Michael Malone years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, Jordy was an assistant with Denver, and he said, "I think this guy's just wait. The one team's going to hire him. They're going to be very glad they did." So you know, that's no gimme. As far as Cam Johnson goes, I think again, just like the Darius Garland stuff over the summer, everybody wanted Cam Johnson or Jared Allen trade rumors. All that stuff has quickly gone by the wayside because the Cavs are just fine as is right now.
Yeah. All right. And then we got to go to Wednesday. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley versus Joel Embiid, who will be back from his suspension where he shoved a reporter after a game. Sam, you ever been shoved in the locker room before?
Never been shoved in the locker room. I have done some shoving of reporters, but that was all in fun. Okay. But yeah, it's that's an interesting dynamic there. I honestly have never seen. Obviously, I didn't see that, but I've never seen nor heard of that in the NBA before. So, you know, look, you're right. Joel Embiid's a problem for everybody when he's healthy and he's out there. But the Sixers kind of remind me, dare I say, of the Cleveland Browns. Very talented, but just seem like, that's the nice way to put it, kind of a mess culturally a little bit.
It's a scary part when you see your star in Joel Embiid going at the fans.
Yeah, right.
Because he was being questioned about wanting to play or questioned about his injury.
I mean, Ralph,
and when
he was
you have
getting
the start,
investigated. He was getting investigated by the league.
I know, but I think the team. By the way, it's not the first time that the Sixers get fined for doing something, whether it's listing injuries late or early or hiding, whatever it is. And that's like, I don't think it's the point here. The point is that when you're gonna question the guy that has literally left everything on the floor. Yes, it's been a problem for him to stay healthy. I think he's played a little bit less than half the games in the regular season in his career.
Yeah.
But that's who you got. And I don't think anybody outside of Philadelphia, much less in Philadelphia, can question the heart that Joel Embiid has to play the game of basketball.
Right.
I don't care what side of the coin you're in. There's no way you can question that. And when you have your star player going at your fans with all the rumors that are around, either trade or team moving and all that, I mean, it's something is going to happen there. I don't know what, but hopefully that team doesn't find their gears until they leave Cleveland, we leave Philadelphia.
They don't want them to pull it together too soon.
Hey, it is Cleveland Browns-esque, and we could just leave it right there, as we've seen some fans and
Daryl
players
Morey, the head of basketball operations for the Sixers,
and
is
the
a
worst part
Medina
about it,
Highland grad, so he knows all about the Browns.
If you want to add a little more to that story, they have Paul George in their lineup now, and remember, everywhere Paul George has been, there's been a little bit of case of injuries. So, hey, we wish them the best until after we play them next week.
We got to step aside. More full court Cleveland right after this. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Padone, lucky to be joined today by Sam Amico, Rafa Hernandez Brito. And guys, we're talking all things Cavs, and we haven't mentioned yet, Donovan Mitchell had a massive buzzer beater in Milwaukee last week.
His first one.
First career game winner. Today, we're going to power rank the top 3 NBA players that you want to have the ball in their hands.
3 or 3. So we learned last week that Amico brings a 6-pack of garage beer with him when he comes to the league.
I'm going to limit you guys at 3.
3, huh? All right, so 3 guys that I want the ball in their hands of all time?
Yeah, let's go all time.
Okay, well, forgive me. Michael Jordan probably be on that list. I would say, if you're just talking buzzer beaters, Larry Bird was one of the greatest of all time. And I'll go with somebody who people of this generation have actually probably seen. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell just for fun.
I love it. Raf.
I have never been a fan of Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant because they never played on my teams, so I never rooted for them. I grew up a Celtics fan, so I agree with the Hick from French Lick. I think he's the guy that gave a little bit. But I'll stay away from that because I already counted. I remember growing up in New York City, a dude by the name of Bernard King.
I remember him.
He was a killer at the end of the games, and I think Bernard King is one that I would put on the list since we're going all time. There's a dude that played here that was born in Akron that
won a couple games.
I called quite a few of his shots to win games.
That was
everybody,
the obvious answer.
Love him or hate him. He's the dude that you want the ball in his hand because he can either shoot it or take it to the hoop without a problem.
Was waiting for somebody to say that. It's not Kyrie Irving.
Maybe with two. No, I'm talking about LeBron James. I think maybe drive to the basket with 2 or 3 guys hanging on his back or take the shot. And since we are talking about what's coming up for the Cavs in this coming week, I think Steph Curry has to be put on the list there because he's the guy that if you need a half-court shot or if you need some kind of Hail Mary or a shot that you can throw, I think Steph Curry is the best shooter of not only his generation, but I think
ever. I
mean,
Steph Curry.
That anybody has seen.
Yeah. Steph Curry definitely.
People alive right now.
He changed the game. Now you've got kids in their driveway shooting from as far back.
And that
as
way he kind of ruined
possible.
it because now kids don't want to shoot anything but threes even when they're warming up.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I have to put Curry in. I know the Akron kids, so let's stay with the Akron kids.
Look at that, all Northeast Ohio show here on Full Court Cleveland. Guys, I thought it was cool too that Donovan Mitchell spoke after the game. Just how impressed he was in himself because that was the first time in his career where he was able to hit a game winner, and he had plenty of opportunities at it dating back to his days with the Utah Jazz. But I thought it was cool that he was introspective enough in that moment. And Donovan Mitchell's a guy that has accomplished so much, and he's dragged teams to the NBA playoffs really throughout his entire year dating back to his rookie season. And that's kind of one of the small things that he never had the opportunity to do. So it was cool that he called that out in that moment, that it was his first one.
And you know what the best part about that was? And it tells you a lot about what this team is made of. When they asked him what the best part was, it wasn't the shot, it was the quarter rebound that kept the play alive.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of group we have, and I think that's very important because everybody does things that are important to the end result.
Right.
And I don't think you see them just obviously Okoro, you see the rebound, but like in the victory against New Orleans, at the end of the second quarter, Ty Jerome had a couple of threes and a steal and an assist. I mean, those are the things that you don't really see them unless you really study the play-by-play and go back to the video. But those are moments that keep when the team had maybe a little lack of energy or the other team playing so hurt without 3 starters was playing up, over their heads. Yeah. But those are the moments I think that we have, and so many of them have had those moments. Sam Merrill, LeVert. Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Merrill hit a couple of big shots against Milwaukee as well as against New Orleans. And if I think about that Donovan Mitchell play in Milwaukee, if you remember the inbounds pass
twice, he almost lost it.
He had to save it from going over the half-court line. Yeah. Then he started to dribble, and he dribbled it off his knee. Yeah. And it started to go out of bounds, and he went and grabbed it, and then he turned and hit the shot. When he hit the shot, I was like, well, that's it. They're a team of destiny. They're just not going to lose this year.
And the best part about it is that he knew he was taking the shot, so he wasn't even thinking of giving the ball anywhere else. He went, regather, and boom.
Busted play. Got to pick it up off your knee and get that shot off somehow.
And was the Allen block before or after? It was up before that, right? The block of Lillard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. Just plays that if you put together moments and pieces, it becomes what it is now, a 9-0 star and the only undefeated team as of today. In the NBA.
And we've been blessed with some great Jared Allen defensive moments in this young season. How about the other night against the New Orleans Pelicans where he absolutely rose up there? I mean, a lot of these guys are playing basketball. Jared Allen has a little bit of volleyball into his game, the way that he's able to meet the ball at the pinnacle, and has had some real game-shifting blocks in this early season. And it just does go to show. It's rare to see, I feel like, in the NBA especially, you see teams play with this much effort and this much passion and care so early in the season because you know there's 82 of these things that await you. But the Cavs take it every single night like it's opening night, and it's just fun basketball to watch.
And anytime you look at that replay, especially the one against Missy, I think it was for New Orleans, the dude is coming with all the strength to tomahawk that ball.
Yeah.
Jared is just jumping straight up, and he's still able to contain all that force and knock him to the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a strong move. And the most important thing, and Brad Doherty said on the broadcast on FanDuel Network, to be able to have the heart to not care about ending up on a poster.
Right.
Because those are the only two possibilities.
Right.
Either you make the poster or you're in the poster.
Right.
And I think you have to, when you and Jared has said it a couple of times, when you play that level of taking care of the basket, protecting the rim, you have to be able and willing to take that risk of being on the other end.
Right. And you know what? If you take that risk more often than not, you're going to come out on the winning side, especially somebody like Jared Allen, who's shot blocking is probably, for everything he does well, that's probably his best skill is protecting the basket. What I loved about that play was not only did he block the shot, but there was a loose ball afterwards. Your 7-footer in Evan Mobley goes and gets that ball and leads the break and throws a pinpoint bounce pass to Isaac Okoro. They didn't give up on the play or quit playing just because they got the block.
Amazing.
They went and got a basket out of it, and I think that's why they've been so efficient and winning in those first 9 games.
We're having a great time talking about our Cleveland Cavaliers. Is this
no.
parity or mediocrity? We're talking about the rest of the Eastern Conference.
I thought we were talking about the NFL.
More of Full Court Cleveland right after this. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Network. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Go ahead and throw us a follow out there on the social media streets at Full Court CLE. You can follow the Big Play Network on all social media platforms. Just look up Big Play Sports Network. Guys, there are only 2 Eastern Conference teams above 500
only
right
one
now
undefeated.
at the time that we're recording this. One of them is undefeated, and that's our Cleveland Cavaliers. I think a lot of people are asking, is this parity? Is this good for the league? Or is this just the weakest Eastern Conference that we've seen in quite some time? I'm kind of the belief that it might be a little bit too early to make any of these massive assumptions, but it is weird to see only 2 teams above 500 in the entire East.
Yeah, look, it is way too early to make any of these assumptions. Put it this way. Last year, I remember the Cavs got off a slower start, and I said, they're still 75, 74, whatever, however many games to go. And I would say that about the Milwaukee Bucks. Doc Rivers came out after their loss in Cleveland. Somebody asked him about, are you worried? And he's like, no, we're going to the playoffs. Okay? He's like, I don't know how we'll get there. It might not always be pretty, but I'd rather be doing this now, 1-6 or whatever, than struggling. Same thing with the Sixers. Eventually, I assume they're going to get their act together. Same thing with the New York Knicks, get their act together. These Eastern Conference teams, a lot of them have played a lot of road games. I've looked at the schedule. The Indiana Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been a little bit clunky. Orlando Magic losing Banchero. He's going to come back at some point, presumably. So, it's a very, very small sample size. What's important is the home team, the Cavaliers, have been showing we have found something here. And if we maintain this, it doesn't matter that it's early. It's going to be really cool at the end as well.
The alarming thing would be, to me, just the disparity between the East and the West in terms of records.
Yeah.
Right? Because only 4 teams have 500 or better in the Eastern Conference, and I think 11 or 12 at the moment that we record this. And you have to take into consideration the bad start with bad luck, with whatever you think. The only thing alarming to me about Philly and Milwaukee that these are not teams that are getting used to themselves. I mean, Lillard has been there already a season and a half, and yes, Paul George just came in there, and they had the bad luck, I believe, on that visit to LA to the Clippers. Maxey came out a little banged up with the hand. So that'll be something to keep an eye on in terms of injury. But I think you can make up, and like Doc Rivers said, they are the kind of team that all they have to do is make it to the playoff. Right. They'll figure it out eventually. That's what you hope. But it doesn't really look good or feel good, especially after the way the season ended last year for them.
Yeah, right.
To start that way. It's kind of like, but I do understand your point, Sam, about early and about just a bad start. But I don't think it's a good thing, especially when you look at the disparity from the record on the West and the East. But at the end of the day, I just like where we are. So.
Hey, and for our Cavs here in the Eastern Conference, they're leading the Central Division by 4 games, which is impressive when you factor in Milwaukee.
Division. Do they matter in the NBA, the division?
That's the question
You
that
get
I was
a banner
just getting
if you
ready.
win the division, don't you?
Why do we have divisions
you go
in the
automatically
NBA?
to the playoffs
I know
if
they
you win the division?
They put a banner up.
You do get to the playoffs automatically
right.
if you win the division. That's the only.
Yeah.
That's the only. I think that's more of a concern for the Southeast with the Hawks and the Heat and all those. But
Yeah, because it doesn't even really feel like there are any real division rivalries in the NBA. Like when I look at our Cavs in the Central Division, I mean, maybe Milwaukee, I guess, just because they're the other team that's very good.
Against New
York,
or
Orlando, because those are the teams that you play in the postseason. And I think now, when we're not to get too ahead of ourselves on this show, but when you have things like the NBA Cup, I wonder if that's the NBA's way of tipping their hat a little bit and saying, hey, maybe these divisions aren't for long and we could maybe just get rid of them altogether because they don't mean a whole lot.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it probably it only affects on the scheduling. The fact that we have to play the divisional rivals 4 times and then some of the other times two home, 1 away,
right.
or vice versa. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna mean, I would say it's the league where the divisions means the least.
Yes,
when it comes
absolutely.
When
that
it comes
in the
to
NHL.
Right?
Yeah.
Would that be a first statement to say? Because in the NFL,
The NFL, it's everything. Those games started
in Major League Baseball.
It means quite a bit in baseball as well. Yeah. So I think in the NBA, to your point, I think it's just we're doing it because it's traditionally what we've done. So
was it ever important? Was it ever, or has it always been like this?
I think there was a time. Remember, if you remember, like the Sixers and Celtics rivalries, they're both fighting for first place in the division, and I don't know why. I just think we came as a basketball society and realized, you know what, this doesn't really matter. What seed are you in the playoffs?
I have to be honest with you. If I was given a test and to write down the divisions and
across
the teams and divisions, I would never pass.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the Atlantic, South, whatever. I'm the East-West type of guy.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to keep track. I always get the Southeast and the Eastern Conference and the Southwest and
but
the
that's
West.
what I mean. It's
totally confused, and I'm like, oh, the Thunder in the Northwest? It's like, why am I just realizing this?
I could probably do a better job passing the citizenship test that they give, by naming your representatives and your senators and the number presidents and everything than naming the members of what's the name of the one in the East on the Eastern Conference what are the divisions?
Let's look.
Atlantic, Central, and Southeast.
Atlantic, Central, and Southeast.
Yeah. Right.
And then in the West
would be the Northwest Pacific, which is, had basically the same teams forever, and then the Southwest. Which, I mean, if you look at the
impressive.
Is that an airline or a division?
I have some,
I don't know.
I've got some Rain Man in me.
All right, we can move past that because the NBA Cup does start on Tuesday, and it really feels like that's more meaningful at this point than divisions. The Cavs' first Cup game is next Friday. What's our excitement level here for this NBA Cup? And I think this time around, Cavs fans might have a little bit more of a reason to be excited about it because you could imagine if they remain as hot as they've started the year, they're going to get a pretty good seed in this thing.
Yeah. Well, the groups are already made, and now it's just a matter of how they do against
their group.
Against their group. The courts, I believe they're going to be a little better this year. They're going to stick with the fancy-looking things. But the most important thing for everybody that was not a fan of the Cup at the beginning, look at what that run that Indiana had meant to them towards the second half of the season. I believe that one of the biggest reasons why Indiana was in the finals in the Eastern Conference was because they got a taste of competition and they got a taste of what it means to lose and get out in the middle of the season. So I'm all for it. I think we still have to figure out, and everybody has opinions on what should be the reward or how they're going to be doing. I love the whole thing in Vegas because it becomes a tournament.
Yeah.
But I'll stick to that. I think it meant so much to the Pacers. I mean, we knew who Tyrese Haliburton was, but the country and the world found out who Tyrese Haliburton was when he made that run with the Pacers in the Cup.
Yeah, I look at it like you can't. It doesn't hurt.
No.
You know, you are promoting NBA basketball in a different way during the regular season when a lot of times these are, you know, the diehards will be tuned in, but a lot of the regular fans won't be because, you know, right now you're getting into the nitty-gritty of the NFL season. Yeah. So it gives a reason to create NBA discussion during a time when a lot of people aren't talking about it. At the very least, they're talking about those amazing courts and uniforms.
All right, so let's do it real quick because Ryan's telling us we got a break.
Okay.
Crazy courts, stay or go?
Stay. They just better call us this year. But I think I just wanted to add, maybe the Lakers fans wouldn't say the same thing about what they got out of making it to the finals in the Cup, but I'm all for it. And I think you guys are going to love the Cavs Emirates Cup court and the City Edition uniform.
Yeah, City Edition uniforms coming soon. Hey, straight after this, we're going off the court and some celebrity lookalikes for our crew right here on Full Court Cleveland. More of that. Stay with us right here on the Big Play Network. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. And while we were at break, Rafa Hernandez Brito is twisting my arm saying that he has a shameless plug that he needs to get out there on the show today. And if I don't let him do it, I might never return in this seat when Booby can't be here. So, Raf, shameless plug time.
Attention, Cavs fans. Every home game at the Atrium, the moment the doors open, Legends Corner is there right by the championship wall where all the jerseys are from all the different generations that our beautiful organization has had. Well, Campy Russell and yours truly will be hosting and have been hosting Legends Corner. And what that is we're giving a chance to all the Cavs fans to say hello to past and present people, not only from the Cavs organization, but that mean a lot to Cleveland. We're going to have some Browns players coming in. We're going to have members from the Big Play family join us at Legends Corner. So I invite you to come in early. It's 2 hours before tip-off time that the Atrium opens, and then we're going to be there for like 45 minutes to an hour just signing autographs, taking pictures. I'm the picture taker. I'm not signing autographs. Don't worry about it. But yes, Legends Corner, everybody, at the Atrium at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
And as far as special guests are concerned from the Big Play Network, I think a little bit and dream a little bit bigger than Sam Amico and Nick Padone. They're not inviting us out there.
I hang around them. I do. I just go up there and bother them. I saw Campy and Mark Price at one of the Legends Corners, and I said, guys, can I get a picture with you? You're among my favorite 300 or 350 players of all time. Yeah. And they laughed, and they were like, get out.
We're going to have Larry Nance. We're going to have, I think Josh Cribbs will be joining us to spend some time with the fans. And it's very casual, nothing. Yes, we have nothing like security. It's just basically a time for the fans to spend time with players that meant so much to the city and to the organization of the Cavaliers. You have a quick
story. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you have a quick story about how you saw me outside the Cavs practice.
The only time I seen this man outside, we were at a concert together of Los Straight Jackets. I forget where it was, the concert, somewhere downtown, somewhere on the other side.
That's right. Joe G was there, too.
Of course, Joe G, the Wolf, took me there.
All right, we got to go with some quick celebrity lookalikes. Okay. Our Big Play group chat was on fire because I guess the three of us all have celebrity lookalikes. And Rob,
separated at birth?
I think you got mine first. I've never had this one before.
Wow. Come on, you've never had that before?
I've never had this one before, but I'll take it. Sheldon is a respectable character. No hate here from me, from my guy Jim Parsons. All right, let's go to Sam Amico as...
Oh boy,
Oh,
Scott
man.
Bakula. I'm way better looking than
When do
that
you
guy.
get your
I got
haircut?
way more hair. Yeah, my hair's, yeah.
All
I
right,
guess
we'll
if I
wrap
could
the
do
show
that,
with
yeah.
Raf Hernandez
Uh-oh.
Brito
It's
as
Tito Nieves.
Oh yeah.
You know what's
Nice.
funny? Him and I used to weigh almost the same thing, over 300 pounds, and we both lost weight. That he's put on a little bit, but my wife hates that comparison, by the way. But yes, I see a little Tito Nieves in it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Full Court Cleveland. We'll be back next week.